report the chaos. We reveal the agenda.
Good evening and welcome to ATM. Imagine a global race for unimaginable wealth unfolding right now, not in space or on land, but hundreds of feet beneath the ocean's surface. A silent scramble for minerals so vital, they power our entire modern world. This is the geopolitical battle you're not hearing about, yet it will shape the world's future and your own. This is humanity's final resource race. What treasure lies hidden in the abyss? Not gold, but something far more valuable in the 21st century: critical minerals. Cobalt, nickel, manganese, copper, and rare earth elements. These are the lifeblood of our green future, the nervous system of our defense systems. Your electric car's battery? Deep sea minerals. Your phone? Deep sea minerals. Our transition to renewable energy? Almost entirely dependent on a reliable supply of these metals. Terrestrial reserves are dwindling, often controlled by geopolitical rivals or mined in environmentally and ethically questionable ways. The deep ocean, however, holds vast, untapped potential, a new resource frontier opening up before our very eyes. Scientists have known about these deposits for decades, but the technology to reach them remained the stuff of science fiction. Now, it's reality. We're talking about two primary targets. First, polymetallic nodules, potato-sized rocks rich in manganese, nickel, cobalt, and copper, lying freely on the abyssal plains, vast, flat areas thousands of meters deep. Second, hydrothermal vents. These are volcanic chimneys on the seafloor, spewing superheated, mineral-rich water. These create massive sulfide deposits, incredibly concentrated veins of copper, zinc, gold, and silver. It's like finding a natural gold mine, thousands of feet underwater. Why now? Why this sudden urgency? Because the global demand for these minerals is exploding. The shift to renewable energy, the electric vehicle revolution, the arms race in AI and advanced defense technologies, all demand an exponential increase in supply. We are depleting terrestrial reserves at an unsustainable rate. The camera then smoothly transitions to an animation of a modern deep-sea mining vessel on the surface, with robotic arms descending into the dark abyss. The image holds on the descending robots, then fades to black, leaving the viewer wondering about the fate of the deep. We've seen the treasure that lies in the abyss, a fortune in critical minerals. These valuable resources, such as cobalt, nickel, and manganese, are found in polymetallic nodules scattered across the deep ocean floor, representing a vast untapped wealth. But what else is down there in the crushing eternal dark? Beyond the minerals, the deep sea harbors mysteries yet to be fully understood, a realm where life thrives under extreme conditions, far removed from the sun's light. It is the last truly wild, unexplored place on our planet, a sanctuary of bizarre and unique life that has evolved over millions of years in total isolation. This includes creatures like the ethereal bioluminescent jellyfish, the strange anglerfish with its glowing lure, and ancient, delicate deep-sea coral forests, all adapted to an environment of immense pressure and perpetual night. And we may be about to destroy it before we even understand what we are losing. The introduction of industrial activity into this pristine environment poses an unprecedented threat to its delicate balance and the unique species that call it home. A title card appears over this image, displaying Part 2, the unseen environmental costs in white text against the dark background. The environmental risks are not small, they are potentially catastrophic. The scale of proposed deep-sea mining operations is immense, threatening to disrupt ecosystems that have remained stable for millennia, with consequences that could ripple throughout the global ocean. Let's be clear about what deep-sea mining actually entails. It involves deploying massive machinery to the ocean floor to collect polymetallic nodules, which are rich in the metals needed for modern technologies. This process is far from benign and has significant implications for the deep-sea environment. The polymetallic nodules we saw in Part 1 are not just rocks on the seafloor, they are the habitat, the very foundation of an ecosystem that has taken millions of years to form. These nodules provide essential surfaces for attachment and shelter for a diverse array of unique, slow-moving deep-sea creatures, making them integral to the local biodiversity. The mining process, which involves scraping the seafloor, would obliterate these habitats, leaving behind a barren, lifeless desert. The mining process will kick up vast, toxic plumes of sediment that can travel for hundreds of kilometers, smothering all life in their path. These plumes, composed of fine particles and potentially toxic metals, reduce water clarity, interfere with filter-feeding organisms, and can bury sessile creatures, effectively suffocating entire communities. This suffocating blanket spreads for hundreds of kilometers, choking all life it covers, from delicate corals to various fish species. The long-term effects of these sediment plumes are largely unknown, but scientists predict they could persist for years, altering the chemical composition of the water and disrupting food webs across vast areas of the deep ocean. And in a world of eternal darkness and silence, the 24/7 noise and light pollution from these massive machines would be a sensory apocalypse for creatures that have evolved to communicate and hunt using faint light and sound. The constant artificial light and deafening machinery noise would disorient and stress deep-sea organisms, interfering with their natural behaviors, including reproduction and foraging, in an environment where even the slightest disturbance can have profound effects. This isn't just mining, it's annihilation. The cumulative impact of habitat destruction, sediment plumes, and sensory pollution represents an existential threat to deep-sea ecosystems, pushing many unique species towards extinction before they are even discovered or understood. This has sparked a furious global debate, pitting economic interests against environmental preservation. The stakes are incredibly high, as decisions made today will determine the fate of the last unexplored frontier on our planet. On one side, the mining corporations and the nations backing them, often echoing arguments of pragmatic necessity. They highlight the growing global demand for critical minerals essential for renewable energy technologies and electric vehicles, framing deep-sea mining as a necessary evil for a greener future. They say we need these minerals for the green transition. It's either destructive mining on land, often using child labor, or responsible mining at sea. This argument suggests a false dichotomy, implying that deep-sea mining is the only viable alternative to environmentally and socially damaging terrestrial mining practices, overlooking potential solutions like recycling and sustainable consumption. They promise cutting-edge technology will minimize the impact, suggesting that advanced robotics and precise operational methods can mitigate the environmental damage. However, the deep-sea environment is incredibly fragile and poorly understood, making it difficult to predict or truly minimize the long-term consequences of industrial-scale extraction. On the other side, a coalition of hundreds of the world's top marine scientists and environmental groups are begging for a moratorium, a temporary ban. They argue that a precautionary approach is essential, given the irreversible nature of potential damage and our limited understanding of deep-sea ecosystems. Their argument, published in journals like Nature, is terrifyingly simple. We know less about the deep sea than we do about the surface of Mars. This stark comparison underscores the vast gaps in our scientific knowledge, emphasizing that we are contemplating industrializing an environment about which we have barely scratched the surface of understanding. To begin a massive industrial operation now, before we even know what's there, is to risk irreversible, catastrophic damage to the very ocean systems that regulate our planet's climate. The deep sea plays a crucial role in global carbon cycling and nutrient distribution, and disrupting these processes could have far-reaching and unpredictable consequences for the entire planet's health and stability. But even if we could agree on the rules, the most suspenseful question remains: who will enforce them? 2 miles beneath the surface, in the crushing dark? The sheer remoteness and extreme conditions of the deep sea make effective monitoring and enforcement incredibly challenging, raising serious concerns about accountability and compliance. The body in charge is a little-known UN-backed organization called the International Seabed Authority. Established under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, The ISA is responsible for regulating mineral-related activities in the international seabed area, which covers more than 50% of the world's oceans. But the ISA is under immense political pressure from powerful member states like China and Russia to fast-track mining permits. These nations, along with others, are eager to secure access to critical minerals, creating a conflict of interest within the ISA, which is tasked with both promoting and regulating deep-sea mining. The companies promise to be responsible, but in the vast, dark expanse of the abyss, thousands of miles from any regulator, what will they really do to maximize their profits? The temptation to cut corners and prioritize profit over environmental protection will be immense, especially in an environment where oversight is virtually impossible. A small, distinct red warning light on its side flashes, indicating a toxic leak. It's a wild west at the bottom of the world, where the rules are unclear and enforcement is a distant dream. The animation continues. A new command, represented by a subtle digital overlay, appears on the robot's interface, ignore. The red warning light on the robot immediately turns off, and the robot continues its work. A dark, opaque plume begins to seep from the robot into the abyss, unseen by anyone. In the next part, we'll look at the cutting-edge technology being built for this race, and how it could trigger a new era of conflict, moving resource wars from the land to the sea. The competition for these deep-sea minerals is intensifying, potentially leading to geopolitical tensions and disputes over control of the ocean's last frontier. We've seen the treasure and the terrifying environmental cost of deep-sea mining, but how is this hunt waged 2 miles beneath the surface? The answer lies in a new generation of machines, titans of the abyss, more at home in a science fiction film than on our world. This is the story of the technology that makes the deep-sea scramble possible, exploring the technological frontiers. This is not simple dredging. It's a symphony of advanced robotics operating autonomously where no human can survive. The mission is carried out by 2 types of machines, starting with the collectors. These colossal robotic vehicles are marvels of engineering, designed to withstand pressures that would crush a submarine. Second, and perhaps more importantly, are the autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs. These intelligent, untethered robotic drones are the scouts and cartographers of this new frontier. They map the seabed in breathtaking detail to find the most lucrative sites before the big machines are ever deployed. While American and European companies often design the complex software, nations like China, Japan, and South Korea are mastering the hardware, building fleets of robots for this new gold rush. The technology is breathtaking, but is it profitable? The costs are astronomical. A single deep-sea mining operation can run into billions of dollars before a single mineral is brought to the surface, making it a high-risk, speculative gamble for private companies. But for nations like China, this isn't about short-term profit, it's about long-term strategic survival. Securing an independent supply of critical minerals is a national security imperative, not just a business decision. They are willing to bear any cost to break free from resource dependency. This is not a gamble, but a state-backed necessity. This is where the race for resources becomes a race for military dominance, blurring the lines between civilian mining and naval operations. The same AUVs that map the seafloor for cobalt can also map the seafloor for enemy submarines. The specialized ships supporting mining robots can also act as sophisticated surveillance platforms. Imagine a Chinese mining operation in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, with a U.S. naval AUV entering for scientific research. The Chinese deploy their own AUVs to monitor the American drone, creating a tense, robotic standoff 2 miles underwater. With no human pilots and decisions made by algorithms, we are moving our resource wars from the land to the abyss. In our final part, we ask the most important question: what is our stake in the deep? And what can be done before it's too late? We left our story in the crushing dark of the abyss, with robotic drones on the brink of a new kind of conflict. This conflict, though unseen by most, holds profound implications for our future and the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems. A silent standoff unfolds in the deep ocean, but this is not merely science fiction or a distant geopolitical game played by superpowers. This unfolding drama directly connects to our daily lives and the choices we make about technology and energy consumption. This is a story about you, about the phone in your hand, the electric car you aspire to drive, and the very future of the energy that powers your modern life. It's about the hidden costs and complex decisions behind our technological advancements. Our entire green transition, our vital and necessary move away from the fossil fuels that are relentlessly choking our planet, is built upon a terrible and often overlooked paradox. This paradox forces us to confront difficult choices about environmental protection and resource extraction. To save the surface of our world from climate change and pollution, we are paradoxically preparing to sacrifice its last pristine wilderness, the deep ocean. This deep-sea environment, largely unexplored, is now facing unprecedented threats from human activity. The cobalt in your electric car battery, the rare earths in the powerful magnets of a wind turbine, the copper wiring essential for our vast digital infrastructure, the global demand for these critical minerals is insatiable and ever-growing. This demand is a primary driver of deep-sea mining interests. Our collective hunger for a clean, convenient, and connected life is the primary fuel for this accelerating race to the bottom of the ocean. This pursuit of modern comforts has unforeseen consequences for the planet's most remote ecosystems. We have, perhaps without fully knowing or understanding the implications, created a demand that can seemingly only be met by venturing into this new, fragile, and largely unknown frontier of the deep sea. The scale of these operations is immense and their impact potentially devastating. But it is not too late to change course. Unlike the industrial revolutions of the past, which scarred our lands and skies before we truly understood the long-term consequences, we now have a rare, perhaps final, opportunity to get this right from the outset. We can learn from history and make more informed decisions. The deep-sea mining industry is still in its infancy, with commercial operations not yet widespread. The international rules and regulations governing this activity are still being written and debated. This represents our last critical window of opportunity to shape its future responsibly and sustainably. This situation presents a profound test for humanity. Can we, for once in our history, prioritize long-term environmental stewardship and ecological preservation ahead of short-term economic profit and immediate resource acquisition? This decision will define our generation. Can we collectively create a robust global framework that prioritizes comprehensive scientific research and understanding before any commercial exploitation begins? Can we ensure that a fair share of this common heritage of mankind goes to developing nations rather than solely benefiting the powerful, technologically advanced countries? Or will we tragically repeat the mistakes of the past, exploiting a new frontier without fully grasping the repercussions, in the one place we absolutely cannot afford to damage, the vital and mysterious deep ocean? The consequences of such actions could be irreversible. And this brings us directly to you, the individual. This silent scramble for deep-sea minerals has remained in the dark for so long precisely because it is largely out of sight and therefore out of mind for most of the global population. It's a hidden crisis that needs exposure. However, its far-reaching consequences, both to our planet's overall health and to global peace and stability, will ultimately affect every single one of us, regardless of where we live. The interconnectedness of our world means no one is truly isolated from these impacts. The future of the deep ocean is not solely in the hands of powerful corporations or international diplomats, it is fundamentally in our collective hands as global citizens. It is our shared responsibility to demand transparency, to actively support the scientists who are calling for caution and further research, and to truly understand the profound and complex impact of this hidden race for resources. So, what are your thoughts on this critical issue? Do we truly need these deep-sea minerals at any cost to achieve our green future, potentially sacrificing unique ecosystems? Or should the last pristine wilderness on our planet be protected at all costs, exploring alternatives like recycling and material innovation? This is a crucial debate that all of us need to be an active part of. Please like this documentary if you found it informative and thought-provoking. Subscribe to ATM for more deep dives into important topics that truly matter. And most importantly, share your informed thoughts and perspectives in the comments below. Let's start this vital conversation and raise awareness. The true treasure of the abyss is not just the minerals it holds, but the profound opportunity it gives us to prove that we can be responsible stewards of our planet, rather than merely conquerors of its resources. Thank you for joining me on ATM for this important discussion.